It's 3:45 in the morning, and a group of Chilean soldiers on duty catch a glimpse of a light in the sky. They are speechless at the sight and take a step closer to get a clearer view of the situation. Fast forward to 15 minutes later, the head of the group, Corporal Valdés, appears in a state of shock. His beard has grown, and his last words before passing out are, "You don't know who we are or where we come from, but we will come back."
Chilean Spooky Tales.
The night of April 25th, 1977, Corporal Valdés and 7 other conscripts were on duty in the town of Putre, in the north of Chile. He wasn't supposed to be there, but for some reason, he ended up leading the unit. They were in charge of around 300 horses of the Chilean army, when one of the soldiers spotted a light hovering above the hills, occasionally moving up and down and disappearing behind the hills at about 500 meters away. Confused, the conscript went in search of Corporal Valdés to tell him what he'd seen. Corporal Valdés went outside and saw the big light himself. It was something unusual, and the rest of the soldiers started to pray. He figured that if there was a threat, they'd all face it together. So he went ahead and yelled at the light,
"Identify yourself!"
After this, Corporal Valdés disappeared. For about 15 minutes, confusion and desperation took over the place. The conscripts couldn't find where Corporal Valdés was until he appeared walking towards the soldiers, and his voice sounded different. They grabbed him and rushed him to the campfire where he passed out. Then he regained consciousness for a few seconds and told his subordinates, "You don't know who we are or where we come from, but I assure you that we will come back." And after this, he passed out once more. What really struck the soldiers was Corporal Valdés' beard. It looked so much more bushy, as if it'd grown. And the next day, when he checked his watch, he realized that it had stopped at about 4:45 a.m. and it was showing a different date, 5 days ahead, making it seem like a week had passed. Truth is that events like this one are not uncommon in this territory, and the desert is not the only place where UFOs can be spotted.
Hello.
Follow us for more spooky tales.
We received a story that will make your hair stand on end. This story took place near Santiago during the 90s, and for the sake of privacy, some details have been left out. This happened when I was about 5 or 6 years old. I was in the countryside at a hydroelectric power plant located somewhere on the outskirts of Santiago. This place is surrounded by hills and forests, and I would always go there because my grandmother used to work at the cafeteria. So I used to spend the day with her and my mom, and then we would come back home in the evening. At about 6 o'clock, the van would always arrive to take people home. So my mom and I went out of the cafeteria to wait for the van. We were waiting in the dark when all of a sudden we saw this oval-shaped object in the sky getting closer to the power plant. It was huge and had very bright lights. This object got so close that it almost reached the same height as the light poles. And suddenly, the power went out. The cafeteria, the company, and the whole place were without electricity. And the only light we could see was the light coming from this object in the sky above our heads. I remember grabbing my mom's hand, and everyone was in shock. They wouldn't move or say anything. Maybe it was the state of shock, but that is the last thing I remember. Then, my memory skips to when I was in the van. Now, I'm 32, and I've never been able to get this memory out of my mind. We were on the road that goes up the hills on our way home, and from the distance, I could still see this object almost parked in the exact same place. I asked my mom what it was, but the rest of the workers in the van said, "It's a UFO." Every time I tell this story, I have my mom as a witness. I thought about getting hypnosis, but I'm so scared of getting back to that place that now this is just a memory for me. As a side note, the person who wrote this story says, "That was not the first time something like this happens in that place. This would be the third one. And the pattern is always the same. This object shows up, parks above the light poles, and then there's a blackout." Alright, that's all we have for today. Thanks for sticking with us on another episode of Chilean Tale. Hope you enjoy.
Goodbye.